What's good, Chop Nation? What's going down? It's great to be back with you. I am your girl, Toya G, and it's another Friday afternoon here with the Chop Up. Definitely excited to have the conversation we're having tonight. A lot of conversation circulating this particular issue, but we're gonna also keep it light a little bit and make sure we talk something that we all have in common and that we'll be able to contribute to. So the show is gonna be good, but I'm not by myself. Uh, Hello, the political plug. Good evening, good afternoon, rather. How you doing?
I'm doing swell. So just to let y'all know, we remember football season is back, full effect. So last night the Chiefs suffered a pretty, I wouldn't say devastating loss, but we lost in a nail biter. You know what I
It
mean?
was hurtful.
So we had to recover before we come rock with y'all. Had this conversation with y'all. Y'all make sure to say what's up as soon as y'all come in the chat. Like, share, make sure you subscribe if you ain't subscribed. But let's get into it, man. I got a lot of niggas
Oh
to
wait, and shout
get
out to
off of
everybody
today.
on Apple Podcasts. Shout out to everybody on Spotify. Shout out to everybody listening to us, audio version, podcast style. Everybody out there in Chop Nation. I also got to make sure I say what's good to y'all.
Let's get it.
I so you want to start with my topic?
I thought you had a question.
I do. I forgot I had a
Yeah.
question for the people. Had a question for you. This is the question of the day. Just a random chop up question of the day. What plug and chat? You know what I'm saying? And definitely wherever you listening, if you get a chance to comment, we want to know. What is something that sucked as a child, but that is awesome as an adult? Plug. What do you think is something that sucked as a child, but is awesome as an adult?
Something that was terrible that sucked as a child, that I feel like is dope as an adult, I would have to say is not being able to do something for the weekend. Like
Okay.
really just
Elaborate.
having to be stuck in the house.
Okay.
Not, whether it be for whatever restrictions, having an excuse, reason, a justification to not leave home.
Right.
I think that for me, that is that I would say as a kid it sucked because you always went. I want to go to my grandma's house. I want to go chill with my
I'm trying to
cousins.
build.
I'm
Yeah.
trying to move around. But then as an adult, it's like, bro, if I really ain't got no reason to go,
I'm not going.
yeah.
I
So
also, yeah, I definitely respect that answer. I say, I definitely, mine is similar, right? Having to stay in the house. I really don't mind it. Sometimes, it's months where I pay all my bills and I'm like, blah, 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 blah. You really got to sit down. You really got to slow it down. And I'm actually like, I'm okay with that. I'm about to get the most out of these subscriptions. We get the
yeah.
most out of these little apps I got. I'm going to
Pay too
actually
much
clean
money for
up.
that shit, right? Pay too much
I'm,
money
you know
for
what I'm
to
saying?
watch all these shows, to not be
And
watching all these
outside,
shows.
outside costing a quick $100 to $200 a day, no questions asked, no negotiations done. Like it's hectic. You know what I'm saying? So I think having to stay indoors. Similarly, I went through and looked at some of the answers to that question on Twitter and found a couple of the following. To me, the other obvious answer is naps. Right? You know what I'm saying? Like
Naps,
naps
yeah.
are didn't want them back then. Now I can give me 2 seconds. Like I talk to a lot of people like I don't like naps because they slow me down and I'm groggy or whatever. A lot of people are like I don't like naps because I can't just sleep for 30 minutes. I can't sleep for 45 minutes. I need to sleep for 2 hours. Give me 13 minutes. Give me 27 minutes. Give
Yeah.
me 49 minutes and I
Get you
will
something.
change. I could turn my whole life around.
Get you something.
Another popular answer I really like was vegetables. We
Mm.
start to see I love them. I think they're made in a variety of ways. I didn't grow up with like asparagus and Brussels sprouts and some stuff in my house, and then I grew up and was like, I was made to think these were gonna be terrible, and they're actually not half bad. Somebody else said the answer gave an answer I really appreciate it. Staying out of grown folks' business
Stand that
is
girl.
something that
Yeah.
sucked as a child. But as an adult, I love it. You said what? You got it. That is one of my favorite things. No, listen. It's your world. I'm just living in it. And then what is the other, of course, black phrase that we say when we about to let somebody do something and we don't know nothing about that and we might not do it
Mm,
for ourselves. If you like it, I love it.
there
You
you
like it,
go.
baby. I love it.
There you go. So
Um, I think those are all valid answers. We looking back as we look forward. So shout out to being able to control our own shit and not even we do got McDonald's money and we don't want to go nowhere. We do want to
right,
sit still. We fighting
right,
back. I love that
right.
for us.
Living
Uh,
the benefits of adulting. You know what I'm saying? But we
Parts
wanted to
one.
Right. We wanted to start, you know what I'm saying, more lighthearted with it though. Cause now we got some. Are we 2 minutes in? Can we start cussing? Let me see.
I
Yeah.
think we are.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can't look at
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
time, but I think so.
Yeah. 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 We got some shit to talk. We got some shit to talk. Uh, Now before we can really get into the shit, I want to start out with some more positive moments. I want to go back about a month ago. Let's do
Mm-hmm.
that. I want to go back about a month ago. If anybody recalls, like literally a day less than a month ago, we had one of probably the most uplifting, you know, black moments since Black Panther 1 came out. You know what I'm
You
saying?
know, I
Like it
will put it up
was,
there.
yeah, it was unifying. And if you
Mm-hmm.
don't know what I'm talking about the Montgomery boat riverfront brawl, all of that. That shit was wonderful for black people. Like
Right.
everybody looked up and we was kind of like in step and like this is how niggas should have responded and this is how they did respond and it's aligned and we're happy. This is a great moment for black people. We got shirts being made. On top of the fact that a lot of them the only nigga that got arrested was the nigga with the, you know what I'm saying, that took it a little too far and was hitting and hit the woman
I
hit
mean,
the
even
woman on
then,
the
I don't
ground
think
with the
he's sitting
chair.
there too terribly long. I don't think he's probably still in jail to this day. He's probably
Nah,
out
he's
here living
not.
his
He's
life.
not. But he's the only nigga that got arrested. We was like, yo, and the word that was being thrown around is that you word. That you word. Unity.
Yeah.
We unified. We together. Like we in this. You know what I mean? It was a
What's
great
understood ain't got to be explained. I will cross the ocean for you.
man. Listen,
That's what Aquaman said. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like it was
Aquaman,
great.
yes.
Look,
Nigga, he
that's what
jumped
he
in the
said.
water. You feel me? And that was and we didn't question that. And I mean, even me, like who from a legal perspective was like, ooh, them niggas is going to jail. And then
Yeah.
turned around and be like proven wrong in the best way. You feel me? Like what we saw in Montgomery was what it looks like when you have black leadership, when you got a black sheriff, a black mayor, right? Black
Right.
people end up straight. Black people end up protected. Shout out to More One in the chat. Uh, it was a great feeling. It was
Mhm.
literally less than 5 weeks ago. Less than like barely less than a month ago. Um, and now we're here. We're here. If you see the thumbnail and what's being referenced when I say we're here, a black woman was hit in the face with a brick. And the story goes, she was hit in the face with a brick because she chose not to give out her number.
Mhm.
And the crazy thing about it, while most people will straight up say she didn't deserve to get hit with a brick, there is some mental gymnastics being done to justify her being hit in the face with a brick. Now, I want to say this. A lot of very smart black women and black men have intellectualized what's wrong with that, right? And what like really just kind of put a very fine point on the gendered violence that was a display, and you know the response, like how where it came from
Mhm.
for the men in the vicinity to not do anything. And there's a lot of conversations about that. I'm pretty sure y'all have seen all the videos all over Instagram,
At
TikTok.
this point, I ain't been on the platform yet that hasn't really gotten deep into it and tried to hash out what is what in terms of how things went down and how they should have been.
Right. And but what we want to spend time doing is we want to talk about the response to that situation. Like I
Mhm.
said, a lot of people have had very good conversation about like what actually took place with the sister. I want to talk more about the loud and excuse my French, but bitch made niggas
Oh
that
God.
are finding ways to justify and rationalize. Y'all can go check out the Chop Up Instagram, the political plug TikTok. I did a video where I kind of, like really kind of called out a lot of loud and wrong niggas that
Mhm.
are using this as an opportunity to like really jump out there and be like, nah, this is what she get. She deserved that. There was a lot of tweets that was about that with men just straight up saying we don't need to protect all black women. All black women don't need to be protected. Um, there was conversation about how she was behaving, right? With like well, she was acting the way she was acting. She deserved to get slapped. That, you know what I'm saying? That type of shit. And so I want to take this time on the Chop Up to go at them motherfuckers.
Mm-hmm.
You feel me? Because like I'm gonna let the smart people talk they shit about how these types of things happen and how this type of gender violence take place. I want to directly push back and antagonize the voices that are using this as an opportunity to really justify one, a bruised ego and gendered violence that come from misguided notions and violent notions of masculinity.
Mm-hmm.
But the reason why I brought up the Montgomery boat brawl, riverfront brawl, uh, is to juxtapose it to this situation, because in there was no question of like whether or not niggas was putting their life on the line to protect that nigga on the boat.
Right.
There was no question of whether or not that when Youngin hopped in the water and just started swimming, it wasn't like yo him like what he doing, like he only work with him. Why would he put himself in the line? That he don't know what's going on. He just see that they fighting, that the black man
Automatic.
could have. Yeah, I mean there was nobody, or I won't say nobody, right? There's no monolith, but we didn't hear a lot of dissenting voices in terms
Mm-hmm.
of the readiness for black people to respond, the
Absolutely.
readiness to when that hat
No
went
questions
up.
asked. I mean, you had fighting up and down the boat where it was Q dogs and people all down the man with the chair that got put in jail was not the same man who was nowhere near the other side where all the chaos had popped off or whatever. He just recognized it was up and said, "Oh, all right." The top of that clip is a man way up, and I don't know if he had been watching the situation unfold from a different vantage point, but he seemed to run down the thing and run down again and run down, and it was funk on sight. You know what I'm saying? So it really does beg the question: what, beside the obvious, is so different about this particular situation that was no questions asked policy and a maneuver for the Alabama Montgomery situation, but it was completely different when it was this lady getting hit with a brick in the face.
Now, shout out to Green 101. He was like he's interested. I do want to give y'all our take. I guess we should give our take on the situation. I think for me it's very simple. Like no woman deserves to be hit in the face with a brick. Like you may disapprove of how she handles herself like publicly. You may disapprove of her social media content. You may even disapprove of how she chooses to reject the man.
Yeah.
Hitting her in the face with a brick violates there is no justification. And I think that's a very simple, like baseline human standard, that level of violence is unnecessary based on the interaction, what took place.
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck. Like there's no gendered conversation. I mean, there are these conversations that take place, but I think that all those like overly intellectual conversations in terms of justifying it only use all these other scenarios and really just like gendered politics to obfuscate what really happened. And what really happened is very simple. That was violence, gendered
Yeah.
violence at its best. You know what I'm saying? And so that's my simple take on that. You want to add to that, to you?
Yeah. This is where I am not going to attempt to sidestep questions of race, gender, the same way with Montgomery we couldn't sidestep questions of
Questions of
race.
race, yeah.
But on the same level, I guess I'll unify under the guise of blackness here. But also, I think just the human response is really missing from this. A lot of people are pointing out that people are just really ignoring the fact that some nigga is out here wild enough to pick up a brick and hit somebody in the face with it, and it's very important that I'm being intentional when I say somebody in the face, because I don't think a black man deserves to get hit in the face with a brick. I really don't think people deserve to get hit in the face with a brick for declining somebody's advance, for saying no, they don't want to interact or bring you in their bubble or have an extended conversation or do nothing like that in your response to hit somebody in the face in a brick. I don't really care about the gender of the people involved in it, because I think it's just really wild. And this is where I can lean on race and say niggas shouldn't hit niggas with bricks in the face. Like, and I think that is an easier statement to say. So we go back to the consciously, phrase, thinking deep about shallow
Shallow
shit.
shit.
You know what
Yep.
I'm saying? And I think the conclusion of that phrase is that it forces you to drown in your own misunderstandings. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Your own misconceptions.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what's happening here. And so I think it's very sad. But even under the lens of gender, let's go ahead and take it there and contextualize it in terms of what it is. I also am, overwhelmingly disappointed because like niggas are obtuse because they want to be. And I feel like somebody had criticized Lee for using the phrase obtuse or the word obtuse to describe, what has been happening is people's like, you always trying to use big words to obscure the conversation. And here I go using other big words like obscure. But big words, air quote, of like obscure.
Right.
People like you always talk around the issue instead of just being in the stack. But no, it really is very sad that you are attempting to be so aloof that you don't understand or refuse to have a conversation about the fact that men be violent as fuck and this man hit this person and more importantly this woman in the face with a brick.
Right.
Men be doing violent ass shit and it's never really a question. And it reminds me of the kind of abusive households and backgrounds that a lot of people have, especially even when it comes to what you don't do to daddy, how you don't want to do daddy. You don't want to piss off daddy. You want to make daddy
Right.
mad. You want to make this man mad because he's going to come back and
Display
rain a
violence.
terror of
Yeah.
violence
Yeah.
on you. And
Yeah.
so that's a lot of what the conversation has been about. Is she should have just made that nigga mad. You know what I'm saying? Like, not she should have just
She
gave him a
asked
number,
for it.
but
She was
she
asking for
antagonist.
it.
She asked
Yeah.
for it. Like it's something that was enough. That was logical enough of a justification for that type of violence to happen. And a lot of the storyline in terms of even jumping in or intervening in that moment was, I ain't about to lose my life. I ain't about to, you ain't about to kill
And we're
me.
gonna talk about that. Yeah. And we're gonna
But
talk about that.
nobody
You
says
scary
that
ass
about
niggas.
women.
Yeah.
But scary ass niggas, but nobody says that about women. It is only you niggas who y'all are scared of dying too. Y'all are scared of niggas killing you too. So you agree that niggas and their propensity to
that
kill
he's a
is
threat.
something to be afraid of.
Yeah, like this nigga was a threat. Like if
But it's a
you're
threat to
scared
be-
that if you intervene with this nigga, that he may kill you, what do you think he just did to her?
Like, so the intellectual gymnastics, of it all have been, and so I'm gonna be honest, so much so, and I'm gonna slide it back to the plug to really get into the intricacies of this conversation, but so much so that I didn't want to talk about it, y'all. I was so good. I mean, and you can ask the plug. I was so good on getting to it because I have been so, overwhelmed and not my timeline. I have not been overwhelmed. My timelines have been so overwhelmed and way longer than I thought it would. It's really stuck around as a conversation for many more moons and many more days than I thought it was relevant, which gave us the leeway to talk about it here today. But I did not want to talk about this shit because it's so stupid. It's so dumb. And it's another example. And I've said this over and over again. This is, I'm gonna pass it to you, of the reason why we do not have a black agenda. It's the reason why, because we go back and forth and negotiate shit like this.
But they
and
made
in the
it
face of
seem
shit
like
Montgomery.
we did, though. Right, and that's what I was about to say. Like, they made it seem like we did. Like, it's confusing now. Before we move on.
Unfortunately, and this, I think, this demonstrates, I think, the levels to my pessimism. Is that I don't know if niggas are able. We've been so hurt. We've been so separated. We've been so divided that we have the capacity to come together and agree on the same page about anything.
Okay, so I think that's because I would disagree in the sense that Montgomery would prove opposite, right? Montgomery would push back against that point. Where I agree though is that, and actually this is actually still where I disagree, because where we are in agreement is why these you see a different reaction when it comes to this woman than the instance that we saw in Montgomery, and that is we're pretty much in agreement with with our relationship to patriarchy. You feel me? Because what I would argue is that the reason why it's so easy for niggas to kind of provide the pushback that they provided is because of how we've kind of internalized those type of situations, right? I'm not even gonna play coy with it. You feel me? I was gonna ask you first, but I'll just let you kind of respond. You know what I'm saying? In terms of what you think is different, in terms of why this happened, like what is the distinction between Montgomery and this situation and plantation patriarchy? Plain and simple. The very specific example of plantation patriarchy is the helplessness that black men felt when it came to watching black women endure gendered violence on the plantation. Wasn't shit they could do about it. I say wasn't shit they could do about it, but shout out to Lupe Davidson, one of my AFAN professors at OU, and she was like, there was something that could be done about it. And that was, they could have risked their lives to fight and protect those women. And they would have died doing it. but it was something that could have been done. And this is actually kind of, I guess, the point that Kanye was trying to make, but he did it terribly. You feel me? Like, there is a choice to be made, and even though that choice may, jeopardize your life, like jeopardizing your life is still a choice, whether or not it's coercion. So like there are, ways that we can navigate around that question. But ultimately, what we know is that type of impotence was instilled in black men. The distinction between the level of protection that we saw when they got violent in Montgomery, which still could have risked their lives, and what happened with this sister that got hit with a brick, is that watching black women be brutalized have been socialized into us. So it's like these niggas think that they like really saying something, being loud and being like, nah, what you mean? Like, I ain't gotta go out there and to protect all of these black women. I'm not about to put my life in jeopardy. I'm not about to jeopardize my, my own safety for this woman. And this woman act like this and she do this and she do that. That's normal. That shit is like when again, what these niggas is flexing is what was considered the failure of our ancestors. Like our ancestors really like they and like the helplessness was them, like there was like really they crushing their manhood. I can't protect my woman. I can't protect my kinship. Like I'm watching this white man have access to this woman I'm calling my mom, this woman I'm calling my sister, this woman I'm calling my wife, this woman I'm calling my neighbor, right? I'm watching this white man have access to her, whether it be violent or to his own pleasure, and I can't do nothing to stop it. Because if I do, I'm no longer going to be alive at all. So, what was our failure, what felt like a failure to our ancestors, is now being espoused all across the internet as a badge of honor, as something that they think is logical, right? Plantation patriarchy has made us weak. Plantation patriarchy has made us fear the response of responding to protecting the women because we knew what happened. Like, I can't do nothing. My life is in danger. Nigga, I mean, and we gonna talk about whether or not that's really true. But the reason why niggas jump to this question of their life being in danger is because watching black women get brutalized, that was the other side of that.
Go ahead. But here's the thing. I don't even think we have to question whether or not it's true, because a lot of the conversations I was seeing about whether or not niggas' lives was really, like, if people intervening was really losing their lives, niggas was dropping receipts. They was like, here's an article of somebody who got stabbed or whatever, trying to jump into a domestic dispute. Here's an example of a person trying to, who got shot or whatever, trying to go in and deal with their neighbors, the neighbor being abused, whatever, man turned the gun on. All these receipts of all these men who turned around and brutalized those men instead when men tried to intervene. And, all it did was prove the larger point, which is that men don't do the work to heal. They don't do the work to solve the problems within that particular group of people. Black men in particular want to be seen as these protectors, these providers, these individuals who have been typecast and misunderstood in relationship to their families and this, that, and the other. But nothing ever happens to get into and resolve the problem of why black men are violent toward each other or to anybody else in the first place. None of that healing ever happens. Instead, we always go ahead and jump to what the victim did to put themselves in that position to receive the wrath of a man, or why it is that man is misunderstood, or that they're, the conditions or whatever has shaped the position for that man to be
some form of justification.
It's never what is happening intracommunally to resolve why anybody had to die. The person who was initially targeted for the abuse or the person who tried to intervene within it. And this also, this is where it gets complicated because, I think, the issue that a lot of black men have, at least the ones who, dislike my personal role as a black woman who finds herself identifying as queer and moving about the world as somebody independent of a black man's protection or support or whatever. A lot of the criticism they have for the decisions I've chose to live that life comfortably is that I need to find somebody who wants to protect me and provide for me and be that shield or that go between danger and all this and all that. And so where do those things go? Yeah. Right? Where is that desire? And people say, well, I mean that for my family or for my friend. Then that's a shame, because what do we know and what have we already discovered about men's relationship to women? You only care about women when it's your mama and your sister and your cousin and your friend.
Some form of relationality, right? Yeah.
And that's where it's shameful, because it didn't take that in Montgomery.
Not at
It
all.
took skin folk being kinfolk. You know what I mean? So I think the negotiability of it all. And this I need to go ahead and say this, because I want to point this out for people who are like, well, let's not forget about the fact that she antagonizes men and has these videos and had these skits and whatever. This wasn't those times. And the men who were part of those skits and a part of those videos knew that they were being recorded, knew they were going to be posted, and consented to be a part of those things. She talks about that in the captions of the same videos y'all want to point to. So again, I ask, right? How are you negotiating, or why are you willing to negotiate those things? Bottom line, in those videos, wasn't nobody getting smacked in their head with no brick. That
And
definitely wasn't going on.
what's really fucked up is what we are seeing at display is, and again, not just in the instance and what took place. And again, if y'all didn't came in, make sure y'all hit that like button. Let's get them likes up.
And say
I
what's
want to
up.
hear from y'all in the chat. Yeah, the chat kind of dry.
We definitely
Open
we
that
gotta go
shit
to the
up.
chat, because they've been talking to us a
Yeah.
little bit.
But what we see in the response is how this type of violence gets normalized. Not the fact that the nigga hit her with the brick. Like, that could be seen as like that's excessive. But it's how we respond to gratuitous violence that determines whether or not that form of violence is a part of the status quo, is a part of how things operate and function. And so what we see and take place is that negotiation that you're talking about. That's literally the everyday negotiation that we do to undermine women's rights, reproductive rights. And this ain't nothing. Like, we've been seeing this for the last 2 years. The undermining of Roe v. Wade, you feel me? And all of that, which was a long fought battle. You know what I mean? But the fact that's a question of what's now being considered more acceptable. You know what I mean? Where the Overton window is moving, the window of acceptability, and this is an example of the Overton window as it pertains to black people in black communities. What we willing to be okay with. You know what I mean? Like, these niggas will come out and say straight up. Like, the video I responded to, he came out and said nobody deserved to be hit with a brick, but she was asking for it. How the fuck does that get negotiated? Well, it gets negotiated through how we respond to people who don't operate within the same politics.
And how many other times have we heard that line being described, the violence that is committed between men versus women, for violence that they were indeed not at all asking for? So I mean, that phraseology is even lost on me in terms of how we deal with some things. I want to go to the chat real quick, because I got to acknowledge some things. Green01 said, by them being Somali, does that play a role? We're going to touch on that. Donnell says, I feel y'all when Alabama bought unity, this shit happens and I quickly lose hope with our supposed unity. And that popped up when I was talking about being kind of disparaged about the possibility of a black agenda, or just us being on the same page at the same time. Yeah. Shout out to Hood Therapy. RBG Guapo was good. Probably somebody somebody you've been connected with, but popped in to say what's up.
Yeah. We've had different exchanges. Shout out to RBG.
Shout out the gang. Absolutely. Andrea, what's good? How you doing? How you been? I want to go up to Green01, who asked the question, is this anecdotal? And I think that was when we were talking about plantation patriarchy and talking about kind of the implications of black men having to not deal with the pain or the trauma of not being able to stand up for their counterparts. So how do you answer that question? Is what you describe? I feel like it's more theoretical. I think we're able to understand how white supremacy and chattel slavery played out, and to understand the violence that happened therein. So to situationalize this type of divide makes a lot of sense to me. So I see it as more theoretical, but how do you,
not even theoretical. I view it as wholly historical. It could be seen as anecdotal, because like we kind of analyze in history, but it's more of a documented experience. Like, a part of the experience that, like, with black people, we all got white blood. Why? Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's because that black women at that time, you got to remember, raping a white woman got you killed. Raping a black woman was wholly legal, because white society at that time not only felt that black women weren't human, but that they were hypersexual. So if they always wanted it, you feel me? So when we talk about the plantation patriarchy from the standpoint of internalizing impotence, when it comes to viewing black women, like viewing the brutalization of black women, it's not anecdotal. It is a analysis of history and the ways in which we and sociology, because we end up being socialized, we end up being shaped and framed to be able to. It's no different than when we see black on black violence.
Mm-hmm.
The normalization of seeing black bodies in the street killed by other black people is the same kind of normal feeling that we see when we see black women specifically being brutalized. Like
Mm-hmm.
that is it's not something that was just like, I'm just gonna attach it to. That is the lived experience. That's what we kind of embody. Yeah, and this is a like if we had a case study to help us understand it, this would be it. Like if we needed an example, you know what I'm saying? This would be it.
Mm-hmm.
What was you about to say, Toya?
Well, no, I'm actually that in relationship to, and we'll shout out to the MVP Chris is in the building.
Shout out
Andrea
Chris
says,
Harris.
what do we do and how do we get men to see our humanity? I have zero investments in getting men to see shit about me. If that value is not embedded and kind of intrinsically in how they are wired, then
Yeah,
I continue and will continue to beg the question of what they need to do with each other,
yeah,
right? So because I don't know the way that it's phrased, it's like it's a question is proposed to me as the other woman in this conversation, but that might be a plug conversation because
I was
in the
just
same ways, and in the same, but no, in the same ways, I've always talked about the reason why we haven't, depending on who the we is, depending on what part of your identity is being subjugated, we haven't been able to reestablish or subvert the power relationship. Is that the ones holding the power have not made the strategic but necessary decision to relinquish some of that power. They
yeah,
got to give up some of the power. They got to
yeah,
have some internal conversations. This is why we were sending white people home to talk to their family and friends at Thanksgiving and shit. Don't ask us nothing else. There's no more unlearning. There's not a lesson to teach. There's not a conversation that can be had at this point specifically that
yeah.
can make it any more clear. That's some shit y'all got to make a decision about yourselves, and then y'all come and call us back and tell us what y'all figured out. You know what I'm saying? But that's where I'm at a loss, and that's why I
Yeah.
didn't want to have the conversation, because I'm at a loss.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck?
And this is, and the reason why I did want to have a conversation is because I got like wonderful women in my life like Toya and other, and not just women but queer women specifically who I've learned from and who've helped me kind of understand a few things. The reason why I feel like it's important to talk about it, the answer to your question, Andrea, is black men have to reimagine patriarchy for black men. The reason why niggas feel so comfortable to come out and be like, well, she deserved that, she earned that, is because that's what the white patriarchy will tell you. Women, whether white or black, who don't function under the politics of patriarchy, of any particular patriarchy. Because niggas think that women should do different shit. Regardless of that difference, if you ain't operating in what they feel like matches they politic, anything could happen to you. This is no difference than when niggas say, well, she was dressed like that, she was asking for it, right? She was talking like that, she was asking for it. Anytime a woman is operating outside of the realms of politics that have been established by any particular man, it turns into, well, she earned that shit. And so as black men, what we have to understand is, one, we don't fit within these normative notions of masculinity anyway, because if we did have the savior complex that white men had and white masculinity exhibits, we wouldn't be sitting up here saying, well, I ain't trying to risk my life. Nigga, the whole white knight, think about it, the white knight. What is the white knight? It is the white man who protects his woman. The white knight is the white man who stands up and says that the white woman will not be brutalized by the Negro. Are we forgetting that as a part of how the black man was made savage or considered a savage, was saying that look what he'll do to your woman? Come on now.
Part of it.
Like the reason why we have so many, when black men talk about being falsely accused, when niggas be like, hey, you better stay away from them snow bunnies, is because they had the power, because of their attachment to whiteness and their attachment to the patriarchy, had the power to say, this black brute is threatening my white femininity and it could risk that man's life. So that means if you sit up here looking at the brutalization of a black woman and saying, hey, she was asking for it, you're not displaying masculinity even from the normative standpoint. You actually displaying the reason why black men will never fit within white notions of masculinity. And again, you're displaying a level of helplessness that then becomes justified, so you don't feel like you should be demonized for feeling helpless. It made sense for our ancestors, because our ancestors was literally in chains and they literally would get hung for stepping out trying to protect black women. Today, in 2023, Now we gonna talk about the actual question of
And I want to answer Chris's question real quick before we move to a new thing. Chris said, "Can I elaborate on what part of our identity is being attacked?" I'm asking because that's an excellent point. I understand how aspects of the Black community are under attack. Basically, the point I was trying to make is
yeah.
that you can pick, right, all of the things that you can imagine, the ways that you feel like the Black community are under attack, Black people are under attack. We're talking specifically about Black women being under attack, but even in terms of just race, right? So just look at the binaries, right? If we're looking at gender, right, the ways that the power imbalance allows for men to have privilege, have power, be able to dominate, be able to brutalize, versus women being the target of that. The way that white people are able to manipulate, be able to commodify, be able to eliminate, to erase, to be violent toward Black people, and the power dynamics in that. We could talk about disability and break it down. We could talk about citizenship and break it down. You pick any dynamic of a power structure, right? The way that the system or the state is able to particularly target Black people and limit their
Mm-hmm.
ability to move and have institutional power and success and growth, right? My
Mm-hmm.
only point there was that there's not a thing. There's not enough rah, rah, rah. I think there's an old Tupac clip that talks about the fact, we are hungry, please let us eat. We are hungry, please let us eat. And how he was outside of a party, a big party happening with sandwiches. And as poor niggas being locked outside of and not having access to certain spaces, or in a power dynamic, being the person less empowered, not having, there's not enough politicking, there's not enough protesting you can do if power has not made the decision to relinquish some of the power that it has. Right? There's
And
not a song sweet enough you can sing. There's not a dance that's beautiful enough you can do. There's literally not anything that can happen with an imbalance of power, particularly as gridlocked as it is through white supremacy,
right.
through heteropatriarchy, right? Through all of the isms that exist. The only way that shit changes is if they have a connection, a conversation on the top level, and decide, okay, we got to give up some of this shit. That's it, or else it doesn't work.
But
Right?
and
That's
then
the way power.
in Black men, we have to give up attempting to fit within these notions. Because I
Mhm.
think, and the sister, it was a sister that Toya pointed out to me, made a particular comment in terms of this situation. Sweet and the sister on TikTok, think she's disabled somehow, something.
Imani Barbarian, Barbarin. Imani Barbarin is her name. On the socials, on TikTok, on Instagram.
So because I had seen, I'd seen the video that you was talking about. It popped up on my TikTok where she
Mm-hmm.
said that Black men aren't the white people, are the white men of Black people. Black men are the police. Black men become the police, the petite bourgeoisie, right?
Mm-hmm.
Black men become that intermediary of, we got a little bit of taste, a little privilege. And I'll even go as far as to say this: Black men are the white women of Black people. Black men are the white women of Black people. Black men become Karens. Every last one of them niggas that's like, well, she deserved it, is a Karen, nigga. Because tell me the difference of, well, if he didn't want to get shot, he should have been following the rules. If he
Yeah.
shouldn't, if he should have been following orders if he didn't want to get shot in the street.
Yeah.
Niggas become the police. Niggas become niggas enforce white patriarchy on the Black women, even though they have no access to the benefits of it as Black men. And I'm saying that as a nigga. Fuck you mean?
Yeah.
Because this is keeping it a stack. Because I know a lot of niggas that sit there and be like, oh, niggas only say shit like this, and I let me rant for a little quick bit to you, because I've been, niggas been called simps and all this other shit for saying what the fuck we saying.
Understood.
So, let me keep this a stack. You not a real nigga if you don't have niggas around you that's gonna look at you and be like, hey, bro, do better. Right? If you got niggas that's willing to kiss your ass, if you got niggas that's gonna pat you in the back, slap files with everything you do, you don't fuck with real niggas. You feel me?
Mm-hmm.
So when Black men that aren't allowed to be critical of other Black men, the critical Black men aren't simps. You niggas is hoes. You niggas is bitch made. And real niggas is trying to let niggas know that. But because y'all feel, that there's a comfort that y'all able to go to these social media spaces and go to places online and hold hands up, you know what I'm saying, over how y'all hurt and how y'all got fucked up politics, that make y'all feel comfortable. But in the real world, real niggas, don't do and move and say shit like this, bruh. Like
Well,
because this question of protecting black women, I didn't even know it was a fucking thing until I started getting into spaces on YouTube and other shit and started seeing how these conversations took place. Nigga, like
yeah,
where I'm from, it ain't no motherfucking question. My stepfather was a street nigga, rest in peace. Not like was on the streets on his own since he was 16 years old. The
yeah,
nigga, and the one thing that he instilled in me when he was like, nigga, I'm raising you as my own. The first thing he instilled in me is you look after your sister, you look after your mama, you look after your auntie. And then when you
mm-hmm.
get that in you, and then you connected to the community, my auntie just don't mean my mama's sister.
Yeah,
My sister don't
yeah,
just mean my mama daughter. Fuck you mean? Like
yeah,
we talking about the community. I can't sit there and say that I can watch this woman be brutalized and think that a nigga's supposed to step in and help my sister, help my mama. A nigga just
yeah,
got clapped by a 15-year-old. Y'all didn't heard about it. A nigga just got clapped by a 15-year-old because that nigga was in there putting his hands on his mama.
yeah. It
So what
happened
are
a few
we?
months ago.
Yeah. So what are we talking about? This simp shit is the suckers. The niggas that in the comments calling niggas simps because they saying, hey, niggas need to do something to protect these sisters. These is the suckers. You is the weak niggas. And yeah,
Yeah,
motherfuckers be like, oh, y'all trying to blame all black men and all that. Man, listen, as a black man myself, when they like, hey, it's black men that ain't these black men ain't protecting black women, I know I'm not grouped in that motherfucker. I'm pointing the
yeah,
fingers at you niggas too. I'm like, hell yeah, they not. Nigga, cause I know it's a bunch of niggas that standing behind me saying you niggas ain't doing what the fuck y'all need to do. But
right.
y'all done been pampered by social media. You know what I'm saying? Y'all done been pampered by these motherfucking echo chambers where y'all can sit and hold motherfucking hands on some sucker shit. But this shit is only that's internet logic. That's why you hear and see this shit in comment sections. You feel me? Not in real fucking life. Cause really what and we're gonna talk about what type of community that was and get into all of that. Actually, cause I want to transition.
What's
I want
going
to
on?
transition. Yeah,
Yeah.
cause we cause we starting to rant. Um, let's talk about that community. That community, like the sister that got hit with the brick was a Somali American, right? That's an immigrant, and so for the purpose of the conversation, we'll call that a African immigrant community.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Tariq Nasheed put out a tweet, and thank you for that
And it's
time,
important to. It's
Talia.
also important to explain that the person who hit her with the brick was a Somali man.
Was a Somali man, correct?
Right. So important to make that distinction too.
Tariq Nasheed put out a tweet and said though a woman was hit in the face with a brick by some goofy non-FBA dude and a bunch of
What's
other
FBA?
FBA is Foundational Black American. So if you familiar with ADOS, so American Descendants of Slavery, FBA is another version of that. Foundational Black Americans means Black people of America of the United States. Uh, I'm going to Black Americans.
Mm-hmm.
So FBA is Black Americans that was born in America, descendants of slavery. Tariq Nasheed said a woman was hit in the face with a brick by some game goofy non-FBA dude and a bunch of other non-FBA dudes just stood around watching. Now there are people trying to be on some blame black men vibe. This is tether behavior, and foundational Black American men generally don't blah blah blah. Because oddly enough, it's foundational Black American men that are defending the behavior. So it's like, even if what Tariq Nasheed is saying is true and how he's trying to distance foundational Black American men from this type of behavior, they're the niggas that's defending it. So, but the question I have for you, Toya, is this conversation about, who these people are, the community that they come from. Does Tariq Nasheed make a point? Is it unfair to even direct this conversation to black men, knowing that these were Somali Americans that were involved? This was a Somali American community involved in this.
No, I don't think that this point makes a lot of sense to me, in the sense that race and ethnicity are different, and we're gonna learn one day about kind of those characteristics. I don't think we've solidified it yet, but we will. And more important, when we're talking about the diaspora and when we're talking about the violence therein, you can try to no link it all you want to. You can say them ain't us and they don't belong to us or whatever, but the bottom line of it is these are Somali Americans. These are black people who, from the context of race, from the law to the paperwork they fill out. When I fill out any paperwork, it says, "Am I black or of African descent?" It don't separate them. It don't try to split them up. It don't try to do so. I'm also and I also am invested in the diaspora. So both my oppressors don't separate who we are, and based on my politics and my beliefs, I don't separate myself from black people. So I'm not very disinterested in trying to get real particular and no link the African foundational black, I'm sorry, the African American foundational black man from the Somali black man when it comes to the fact that a lot of the violence is similar, if not the same. Honey, y'all locked in. This is gang,
Yeah.
okay? All these separations y'all trying to make just don't make a lot of sense to me. Potato, tomato. Let's go ahead and talk about the reality of it and not get caught up in that community doing those things, because that suggests that this community don't do the same shit. Not true.
Before I respond, I think this video kind of help makes your point as it pertains to like who really makes that distinction, right? Because we constantly get into these debates about blackness when it comes to African continental Africans.
Mm-hmm.
I've even, my wife is Eritrean American, first generation, and niggas have really, like, niggas on the internet then really tried to tried to say that I'm not married to a black woman
Hmm.
because my wife is Eritrean.
Can confirm. You were definitely married to a black woman. Shout out to my homegirl. It's really not confusing.
You know what I'm saying?
It's really not confusing.
But this is the world that we live in. This is what we experience. So, this video here kind of like displays kind of like what we would consider kind of like the diaspora wars from the perspective of a Somali nigga. So he actually, I guess, in a sense, would agree with Tariq Nasheed to say that Somalis aren't black. Right now, Tariq Nasheed trying to say that Somali niggas is the issue. You feel me? So they not necessarily gonna agree. You feel me? But the argument being made here that we're gonna hear from, that we're gonna kinda hear from this young Somali brother has to do with the question of whether or not they black, and another continental African is gonna answer that question for him. Let's take a listen. Hold on, let me get Toya right. Let's take a listen.
Care if I'm the first person to say this, but us Somalis are not black.
We don't care. We don't care. There's too much black in Africa to be worried about Somalis claiming not to be black or not. It's none of our goddamn business. We don't give a fuck whether you're black or not. Thank you. We don't care.
So
Bye.
that was pretty much straight to the point. You feel me? So the young Somali brother was like, "We are not black." Not necessarily sure the nationality of the brother that responded, but he was like, "We don't give a fuck. Africa black as shit." This if you and which I think is which I kind of like. That's my response when niggas be trying to distance themselves from their blackness. But in the context of this conversation, Tariq Nasheed attempted to create this distinction between foundational Black Americans and continental Africans. And your argument is similar to the second African brother, correct?
Yeah, I want to go to the comments. More one says that's where a lot of black men. That's why when a lot of black men reach a position of power of authority, they display the Napoleon complex, and that is very muchly just an extension of the example of what you were talking about in terms of kind of trying to replicate and be something that you'll never be, which is a replication of white patriarchy.
Right.
RBG Guapo. I'm trying to geopolitics, Afro cosmology, survival skills, self-defense, economics, home repairs, etc. With it, don't know what this is a list of.
I think he may be responding to Chris. I think he may be responding to like where we're under attack. That's where that makes sense. That's what that makes sense.
Donnell says, yeah, that's some whataboutism bullshit, non sequitur fam. Sorry for that big complicated word. Not too big, not too complicated. We definitely appreciate all language. Non sequiturs means The shit just don't overlap. There's no intersection between the two main
Oh,
points we tried to make.
tell
What
you,
is
we
that a
got.
reference to? Oh, I
Uh,
seen it. I seen it. I'm coming.
yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. So first
Yeah.
of all, hey, miss me with the respectability politics, my nigga. You feel me?
Who you refer? I
Cause I,
mean,
Daddy, it's a nigga named Daddy Eyes in the chat, and I'm gonna talk to Daddy Eyes directly. You feel me? If you coming over here, I'm a black man myself. I'm raising a black boy. I was raised by black men, and two of them, the niggas that spent the most time raising me, them black men, was not my motherfucking fathers. I did not come from them, and they still took that time out to raise me. And the shit that I'm saying right now is to the benefit of black men, not to coddle and try to persuade or try to assuage niggas' egos to make niggas feel better. I'm gonna keep it a stack. You feel me? Niggas need to be criticized. And anybody that's trying to convince y'all that any criticism is just trying to tear down black men, don't give a fuck about black men. And that's keeping it 100. If we spending all of this time really trying to sit back and say, like, yeah, this is what this is dedicated to, tearing us down. Yeah, y'all niggas is the problem. Because even if, let's go with the idea that these aren't foundational black American men, and that these foundational black American men are doing something that's not characteristic of foundational black American men, then why the fuck are FBA men defending it? Why are niggas more willing to say that she deserved it instead of willing to say that, hey, we don't display that type of behavior?
yeah.
Why ain't it more niggas? Like, that's what I'm saying. Why ain't niggas being like, hey, that's Somali, that's some Somali shit. Them ain't us. Niggas is saying she fucking deserved it. So even in the context of Tariq Nasheed, they saying that ain't nobody blaming FBA men. FBA men are the niggas that's jumping out the window to defend the Somali American bullshit, if that's what we saying it is. Cause I'm cool with even saying, all right, you know what I mean? Like, I think there are cultural differences. I agree. There are cultural differences amongst us that kind of like we have different relationship with women. But if a nigga gonna sit up there and say, well, like, and blame her, because if it was really about not being FBA men causing this type of violence, why the fuck are FBA men defending it? Simple as
Questions
that.
I need answers.
Simple as that. So,
Oh yeah, he also said we can't, or Daddy I said we can't say nigga. We can't say the N word.
yeah, fuck
We're
that nigga.
not credible. We lose our credibility because we can't say
Yeah, fuck that nigga. That's really how, that's, you know what I'm saying, that's really how we feel about that one.
Hey.
But again, I be damned. I'm not, listen, all of these, one, I stand by black feminism, period. Because a lot of, like I said, black men operate a similar space as white women. So there was an attachment to the white supremacist patriarchy that we find ourselves kind of, adhering ourselves to, as opposed to being willing to reject it. The only people that don't benefit from no social structure, no social hierarchy, is black women. They don't get the patriarchy. They don't get the capitalism. They don't get white feminism. They don't get, you know what I'm saying? Like, we could go down the list. Black men can be junior partners. I don't know if y'all know what junior partners is. Junior partners are the niggas who suffer from oppression but get a little taste, little benefit, little bit of taste. And then they end up actually enforcing the oppression that they themselves also endure, just to get a bit of that little bit of taste. You know what I mean? So yeah, I mean, bro, I'm not running. Bro, I'm willing to take you niggas head the fuck on. Any nigga out there that want to debate me on this shit, I'll debate you niggas on black feminism and you will die. Because what y'all gonna do is y'all gonna attach white feminism on the black feminism, not understand what the fuck y'all talking about, and get cooked. I done already did it once before. Please, nigga, if you niggas test like you think I'm not credible, try me. Like, the Chop Up is a debate platform. And I fuck with other debate platforms. Try me. I wish a nigga would. Nigga,
Like
you niggas ain't to no benefit of black men. Period. All the niggas that do the most capping for defending the image of the black man, y'all do the work the most whining. Y'all make us look the weakest. Like this situation. I'm sorry, Toya. I'm sorry. I really been kind of like yelling and ranting.
Listen, remember when we said what sucked as a child, but is awesome as an adult, staying out of grown people business? I've been doing just that.
Because it's like it pisses me off because these is black men who we can agree black men deal with a certain type of persecution. But if you are willing to question everything else that white men have handed to you, why are you not questioning how you understand masculinity? Why are you not questioning your relationship to black women? Why are you not questioning your relationship to what it looks like to protect black women? Because I want to transition over to this part. A lot of the conversation has been centered around niggas saying that the reason why black men shouldn't have got involved, and you even kind of pointed out certain instances of that to you. The reason why black men didn't get involved was because they didn't want to put their lives in danger. For whatever reason. It was a conversation and them niggas not want to put their life in danger. You weak ass, scary ass niggas. I get it. It's in epigenetics has caused us to look at the brutalization of black women and say, damn, if I step up, somebody may kill me. That's a historical reference. But nigga, it's 2023. The criticism of the niggas involved wasn't that they didn't fight the nigga.
Yeah.
That they didn't try to swing on the nigga.
Yeah.
The criticism is y'all didn't do nothing.
At any stage, before, during, or after.
The criticism is y'all didn't do shit. There was no, hey, is she straight? Hey, who the fuck was that? Hey, get that nigga up out of here. It wasn't none of that.
And then it was niggas who jumped on the internet and defended it. Like, the doubling down. It's the doubling down for me.
And then I found out. So if y'all go check out my video on the Chop Up Show, and my video on my TikTok, the political plug TikTok, the nigga that I responded to you, that nigga wasn't even there.
Oh wow.
The nigga that I responded to, his girlfriend came out and was like, nigga, you don't even live in that state.
That's crazy.
You wasn't even around that. Do y'all hear? So like y'all go check out. I'm not gonna play the video here because I want y'all to go see it on our Instagram, or if you're on TikTok, go to the political plug on TikTok, because the political plug on TikTok is like the Chop Up Show on TikTok for the time for the time being.
The way we talk it, we just gonna get shut down anyway. We would always get our account taken, so we just pick the very safest clips and just put them over on the plug.
Right, but here's the thing though. And again, black men, niggas, shit, team meeting like a motherfucker. Yeah. Like, there are niggas that ain't even involved, but just to have some say so, just to attach themselves to the situation, niggas is making videos justifying what happened like they was there, and niggas ain't even there.
Hit dogs is hollering, boy.
Come on, man. Like, and I guess the nigga knew who she was.
You just can't wait to hit a woman in the face with a brick, can you? That's how I feel about that. When you chiming in on shit that ain't got nothing to do with you, you wasn't even there. You're not even
nothing to do with you.
It's just like you just can't wait for a reason. You can't wait to be able to say she deserved that shit. I was in a situation where a black woman did it, and you just really want that for yourself. You see yourself in it, and that's why you get so upset. I think the logic holds, especially when we see how upset or frustrated we are when, you know, black people are targeted by the police, because that could be me. That could be you know what I'm saying? So we put ourselves, I think psychologically and emotionally, when things like this happen, we put ourselves in the position of either, and this is why somebody always say, well, we don't have the full context. We need to know all the details, because you want to know which role you want to play, which position you want to occupy. I don't know if it's a human tendency. I don't know if it's oppressor-oppressee tendency. I don't have the psychological background.
It's abuser logic.
I'm just spitting out the tendency and the habit.
Yeah.
Right? Because when we see ourselves and other people, we gravitate toward kind of situationalizing and rationalizing shit in that world, right? I understand completely why a lot of the time when black people, the story is told of us being shot down. I understand why you did what you did. I don't understand why they did what they did. You know what I'm
Exactly.
saying? It's usually the situation I'm in. So when I see how many people justifying and
You
validating
can shut
picking up
up.
a brick,
Yeah, you can
picking up
shut
a
up.
brick. Like there was a video floating around on the internet a few months ago of a black man who berated a black woman. And it was startling enough to watch because he tried to hit on her. She said no, and from there he went in on her. I'm talking about for minutes, screamed at the top of his lungs. I think it was like a street fest or something like that. So he's in the middle of a barricaded street, just going off, and nobody said a word. Nobody jumped in and said, "Man, calm the fuck down. Like, why you doing all of this? Like, hey, back up off of her. Like, get out of her face. Nothing." And berated her, and nobody did nothing. Now we see an escalated version of that situation where somebody else get. And let's not talk about how y'all can't take rejection. That's a whole nother circle
Oh, that's a
opportunity,
whole nother conversation.
whole nother discussion. But now it's escalated to a brick to the face. In none of those situations, anybody intervened, anybody said anything. It was never justified. But you saw people that was just like, well, and either in both scenarios, you saw people trying to justify. And I'm just like, what, how do you watch this and try to justify or align with any of the behavior there? Sympathize with the, like, how do we
How do
see
you
the same thing?
sympathize with the abuser? Like, how do you sympathize
How,
with the abuser and call and have criticism for the abused?
And here's my favorite part. I also want to talk about this because they had the nerve not only to not have sympathy for her, but to criticize her because she got a GoFundMe that I think she met the goal for
Yeah,
of
like
getting
10,
13
like
racks.
yeah, 13,
13.
13 racks, yeah.
And so, of course, that gave everybody the ammunition that they needed not to feel sorry for her and then to say, of course, she's using the situation to grandstand on it. She didn't put the brick in his hand.
She didn't. She wouldn't have got that money if you don't hit her with the brick. She only has the money because she's a woman that got hit with a brick.
And then this is where we know logic fails you, which is why I have to question all the rest of the way you reason, is that out of your same mouth, you will criticize the fact that healthcare is too expensive.
Oh,
Have you been to an emergency room lately? You yourself will get in an Uber instead of calling 911 because you know the fucking ambulance is gonna be through the roof. So you want to save every cent you can. You rather drive yourself in case of emergency, but you want to question why she needed $13,000 when she had a head and a head trauma
not.
protruding from the side of her face.
Mm-hmm.
Then you on the same internet where you on defending her, she got to get on the same internet and read the shit to say she deserved to get hit in the face. You don't think that was traumatic? You don't think she might want to talk to a couple of people about how she should deal with the fact that men, and because we can always pick me's out there, some women argued that she shouldn't have did what she did, shouldn't have said what she said, she deserved what she got.
Toya,
So
she could have spent that. She could have spent that money on a Birkin, and I could still give a whole fuck.
I'm sorry.
She could spend that money on whatever designer bullshit she want to spend it on, and I could still care less. You stupid. She wouldn't have got it if she didn't get hit with a brick. You know what I'm saying? Like y'all, she would have been making videos and doing all the other shit y'all don't like, and not get money and still try to get views like everybody else. But you niggas gave her the shortcut. Cause it wouldn't even have been as viral if y'all would have came in and be like, hey, help this woman. Then it wouldn't even have been. It would have been another unity moment. Yay, people showed up.
Saying?
You know what I mean? And then it would have been support for everybody. You niggas would be heroes. But y'all would rather be bitches. and I'm gonna say this. To you. Cause we reaching the hour mark. So we're gonna.
I mean, I feel like we can almost let this breathe a little bit because these is bigger questions we are asking ourselves and our people. Like,
we're gonna have a hip hop conversation. We had a hip hop conversation sometime earlier in the week.
We might even go, randomly live or something like that and just jump into something. So we'll just put a pin in that one for right now.
But I want to just a quick story, and it's something that I think about every day, and it terrifies me that it happened. I was at Subway grabbing some food for me and the fam.
Trying to eat fresh,
eat healthy. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Healthy is Subway. Sure. And again, I want to preface this by saying I think about this situation daily, and again, I thank God that I'm still here. I was at a Subway getting my food, literally just making sure getting the drinks, about to head out, making sure I'm done, whatever. Homeless man comes into the Subway. Immediately starts berating these young Latina women that's working at the Subway. Now, when he started berating them, I'm like, okay, like, this ain't my business. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is... let me not do, you know what I mean? It's just it's a subway. You feel me? They probably deal with stuff like this all the time. Then the
A lot
Latina
of people
women,
were crazy.
this is terrible, right? Then the homeless dude start calling the Latina women niggers, hard R, and I'm like, and they not even bothered by it because they like, you know what I'm saying? People are looking at me because I'm the only it's Latino people in the subway. I'm the only nigga in there though. So everybody looking at me like, you feel me, like this. You know what I'm saying? And even then, I'm not thinking to respond, but something telling me like I can't move though, cause like it's something telling me like, okay, I should not get involved, but I can't. I can't just walk out this store right now, especially with all these niggas being flown around. But it's a homeless man. He's probably something wrong with him, whatever. But then the nigga started getting violent. Like he literally started knocking shit off the, you know what I'm saying, the counters, throwing shit on the ground. It's this woman with like, she got 2 young kids with her. You know what I mean? And these just 2, like, this is like, they young, you know what I'm saying, girls working behind the counter. And it's just like when he started getting violent and I seen them little kids like clutch their mama, and you know what I'm saying, like just something in me was just like, nah, he gotta go. Like if ain't nobody, like I can't just walk out, like he gotta go. So like just like something compelled me just to kind of go up and be like, hey bro, you know what I mean, you gotta get up out of here. You can't be acting like that in here. There's kids in here, you gotta go. He turned at me and like, fucking nigger, what? Like, and then I'm like, oh yeah. So I grabbed him once he called me a nigger to my face. I grabbed his ass and like shove him to the door. You feel me? We get to the door. I open the door and I grab him again and I push him out the door. Right? And then he's about to say fucking nigger again. And I cock my fist back and I'm like, fucking what? Go ahead. I'm giving you the opportunity. Fucking what?
Get it out.
You know what I'm saying? And so then he just kind of turned and walk away. You feel me? And I go back in there, I get my food, and they like, thank you. You know what I'm saying? It's like, and this is where it's funny. They were apologizing to me.
Yeah.
These little Latina girls is like, oh, we're so sorry that he did that. Cause he was calling them niggers, and it's like nobody. We don't care that he was calling us niggers, because we're not. Yeah. But you know, you feel me? And this is why I call these niggas bitches, because I could have died that day.
Yeah.
And like that, he could have had a knife and just turned around and shanked my ass. He could have had a gun, turned around and just shot me right then and there. And I think about that constantly, but I always wonder, like, it's I'm not no Superman type nigga, but like, who can sit there and watch people in those types of situations and then not do nothing? And I understand this, and I understand the stories of the men that got involved with things that they wasn't a part of and lost their life. Them niggas should be fucking commended. Them niggas risk their lives for people that they didn't fucking know. Why is that looked at as something to stay away from, as opposed to something that should be celebrated? And something that should be encouraged more.
Yeah.
Like giving a fuck about people you don't know. You feel me? Now, it didn't help that if he was calling them niggers too. And I think that's the kind of shit that I was like, I want to, you know what I mean? That kind of kept me there. But at the same time,
in a very unique way.
Yeah, right. It did, and even they recognized it, because even a young Mexican dude was in there. Was like, man, don't even let that get to you. I'm like, wait, ain't nobody else. Y'all wasn't flustered by this shit. Like, this didn't bother y'all. Like, y'all apologizing to me.
They're still trying to understand why we get so upset about it. Don't worry.
Either way, it's like, you know, when niggas be like, you know, protecting people. I have a situation personally where I'm like, I could have died that day. That was dumb, Damo. God damn. But at the end of the day, I'm like, it's not in me to watch some people to go to deal with shit like that, and then me just turn a blind eye. When we think about history, and I'm not gonna be on the rant too long. When we think about history, there are many times that we read history books and we ask ourselves, how the fuck did an entire group of people, how was they able to do that? Right? How was they able to do that to Africans? How were they able to do that to Jews? How were they able to do that to indigenous people? How were they able to do that to women? And the answer is always the same. everybody was okay with it. It was
Yep.
normal. Even when we criticize like older people and they racism, it's like, oh, well, that's how it was back in the day. That's a problem. That's something we should still be critical of. Yeah. And I'd be damned if I'm listening to black men say that we should like sit back and watch the brutalization of black women, knowing good and goddamn well that the only reason we saying it is because we scared. You can't be loud and scared, bro.
Damn.
You can't be indignant and scared.
Can I get a piece of a last word and then you can close it out?
No, you close it out. That was my last.
Hey, well, I just want to be clear because I take very serious the accusation of bashing black men. I started off this conversation by defending the idea that I don't think black men should get bashed in the face by bricks either. I just also think in order to avoid that maximally, black men should talk to other black men and other men in general about how y'all decide to resolve shit, how you deal with rejection, how you come to understand yourself in proximity to other people, and how you care about people you say you in community with, who in other situations you would protect, fight for, and not accept the disrespect of. That's all I mean. But I love black men. I'm grateful enough to say that I truly believe it's some black men walking around that love me. And I don't take that lightly. You know what I'm saying? I believe it. You know what I'm saying? And I don't surround myself with black men, not in meaningful, like heavy duty, long way ways that I don't feel like will whoop somebody ass for me. I know for a fact you go and get somebody together about me. I know Lee don't play about me. I know it's a couple other niggas who I could drop by name, but who might not listen to.
You got brothers and.
Period. I have 3 brothers who just really are not interested in playing games about me. And so I see and have proof every single day of the potential. It just becomes disheartening when, like you said, we watch these videos, we get in these comment sections, and I'm like, whose niggas is these? Who is these niggas? These niggas? I don't know these niggas, because the niggas I run with, all of them would have responded like Damo did in that subway. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. Rise to your potential, be who you're supposed to be. As we talked to Andre about, I have no investment in teaching you or guiding you any further than that. Anything outside of that, y'all got to talk to each other about. But figure that shit out. And we'll be better by and by. We're going to skip out on the hip-hop conversation, but that's going to be a good one, so make sure you stay tuned because we're cooking up some big questions we want to ask about the genre, about, what our culture produces and shares with each other, let alone the world. So we're going to peel back some layers on that real quick. And, anything else that pops up that's of relevance. I know I did see more one say that maybe we should talk about race hustlers and xenophobes within the black community. So that is its own potential kind of area, but we love these types of suggestions. So leave them in the comments when we're talking. We'll try to catch them, but easier. Go to Instagram real quick at the Chop Up Show. Make sure you letting us know what you want us to be thinking about. On your way out, if you haven't hit that thumbs up, go ahead and show us some love. We appreciate everybody new who hasn't watched the Chop Up before that came in here and hung out with us. We hope you come back. We usually on Thursday nights, but sometimes we pivot to a Friday. And if you already Chop Nation, make sure you say what's up on the way out. Either way it goes, whatever you do, this man, we seen you in here cooking in the comments. You know we got love for you. Asperaptus. Thank you for dropping some comments in there too. C. Dot Hustle, we see you showing love as usual.
That boy, C. Dot.
We make a habit of calling folk out by name because y'all don't have to spend time with us, but y'all do. Right. We appreciate that. We on the way out. Hit that thumbs up. What you got, plug?
I'm gonna say this too. Like, if any of y'all niggas really think that y'all really want this work, I stand on black feminism.
Yeah,
I stand on it. And any intellectual smoke geared towards black feminism, I'm with it. I will embarrass you in front of your audience.
I mean, of course I could, but I think it's more fun when the plug do it.
No, I mean, but you know what, Toya? The reason why like I'm taking that on is because like niggas try to make it about gender wars. Yeah. Niggas try to make it like it's men versus women, and it's not, nigga. It's right versus wrong. Period. And so that's why I don't even, cause like you said, I had to fuck one of these niggas up. Like one of these internet, like it'll be some real life smoke over niggas like coming at my dog because I know how these niggas get down. You know what I mean? So for real, like any nigga that think that they really on some intellectual shit that's bashing black feminism, I will put you on the altar. Easy. So all of y'all, even if you ain't said nothing, say bye as we head out. Say peace as we head out. You know what I'm saying?
Love y'all.
Y'all, it's been real. I thank y'all for listening to a nigga rant. We'll see y'all sometime soon. We got some rap shit to talk about, but until then, this is the Chop Up. We love y'all. Peace.